Imagine a moment when the universe itself seems to bend, when the rules that govern reality suddenly stop applying. It is March 17th, 2026, and just 12 hours ago, at precisely 4:15 UTC, something happened that defies everything we know about physics. The laws of thermodynamics, the fundamental principles that dictate how matter behaves, appeared to be suspended. This isn't a thought experiment or hyperbole. The data streaming in from the James Webb Space Telescope and the Deep Space Network tells a story so strange it could rewrite the textbooks. For months, astronomers have been tracking a comet named ATLAS, a typical volatile body made of ice, dust, and frozen gases, trailing a vaporous tail as it traveled through our solar system. That's what comets do. That's what physics predicts. But then, in less than 40 seconds, pause and consider that time frame, ATLAS ceased being a comet. The surface transformed completely. Its familiar spectral signature, which had been dominated by water, ice, ammonia, and methane, flatlined. The iconic tail vanished. The outgassing stopped. In its place, the sensors on JWST's near-infrared spectrograph began detecting a rigid crystalline lattice structure, highly organized carbon, compressed into a solid form. In simpler terms, ATLAS didn't just freeze or dry out, it was petrified. It went from a dirty snowball to a solid object with a surface hardness approaching diamond. Picture holding a snowball, and in the blink of an eye, without intense heat or immense pressure, it transforms into a solid block of granite or diamond. Impossible in the natural world, phase transitions require time and energy. They demand millions of years of geological pressure. Yet, at a distance of 180 million kilometers from Earth, NASA's data confirms this object did it in an instant. The probability of a comet spontaneously reorganizing its atomic structure into a crystalline lattice in a vacuum is effectively zero. And yet, Chandra X-ray Observatory telemetry confirms it. A mass increase accompanied this transformation. ATLAS became heavier, harder, darker. If this is natural, every planetary science textbook must be rewritten. But if it's not, then we are witnessing something far more profound, an object that armored itself, that flipped a switch. To grasp why this event silenced control rooms at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the European Space Operations Center, we need to revisit what ATLAS was supposed to be. For decades, comets were understood through the dirty snowball hypothesis, proposed by Fred Whipple in the 1950s. Comets are fragile, loose collections of dust, rock, and frozen gases. As they approach the sun, ice sublimates, creating a coma and a tail. A chaotic, messy shedding process. What happened on March 17th was the opposite. It wasn't shedding, it was consolidating. At 4:10 UTC, JWST was performing a routine spectroscopic analysis using its near-spec instrument. ATLAS appeared normal, showing absorption lines for water vapor and hydroxyl. 5 minutes later, at 4:15 UTC, the readings inverted. Water vapor didn't fade, it vanished. A valve had seemingly been turned off. Simultaneously, JWST's near-infrared camera recorded a spike in surface reflectivity. A typical comet reflects around 4% of incoming sunlight, dark like charcoal. Suddenly, ATLAS reflected 85%. Charcoal is dark, fresh snow reflects 80%. A polished mirror 90%. The comet had transformed into a hyper-reflective crystalline shell. Scientists' first instinct was error. Instruments glitch, detectors fail. But here's the chilling part. Triple source validation confirmed the anomaly. ESA's Euclid telescope independently verified the brightness spike with zero coma. ALMA in Chile detected thermal inertia consistent with high-density crystalline carbon. 3 independent sources, different methods, identical conclusions. The comet had petrified, forming a diamond-hard shell, and that was just the beginning. At first glance, a petrified comet might seem like the strangest anomaly imaginable. But the real shock came when scientists analyzed the rotational data. According to the laws of physics, when a spinning ice skater pulls in her arms, she spins faster. Angular momentum is conserved. It is a law of the universe, not a suggestion. So, when three ALMAs condensed from a fluffy, icy comet into a diamond-hard sphere, the spin should have accelerated wildly. Yet, the data told a different story. The rotation didn't speed up. It didn't slow. It stopped dead. Within 120 seconds, the object went from a chaotic tumble, rotating along three axes every 8 hours, to a perfectly stable, non-rotating state. Consider the magnitude of that. Stopping a mountain-sized object in space, without friction or atmosphere, requires a counter-torque equivalent to roughly 10 to the power of 14 joules. That's the energy of a tactical nuclear weapon applied with surgical precision, instantly, silently. No explosions, no gas jets, no debris. And ALMA's thermal readings confirmed the absence of heat. The energy didn't dissipate, it had to be stored. This leads to a terrifying possibility some scientists are now whispering about: the phase change battery. Phase transitions can store energy. Ice turning to water absorbs heat. Water turning to steam absorbs even more. What if the petrification of three ALMAs wasn't a geological accident, but a charging cycle? What if the comet's rotational energy had been harvested and converted into the lattice structure of its shell? Supporting this theory, the spectrographs revealed that the crystalline lattice wasn't pure carbon. It was doped with silicon and boron trace elements used in semiconductors. In human technology, doping carbon or silicon creates circuits. Nature does not arrange diamonds with this precision. Nature does not stop a spinning rock in 2 minutes without heat. The evidence suggests a mechanism, a purposeful, energy-storing transformation. The object had stabilized itself like a fortress raising its drawbridge, like a tank engaging its armor. And the behavior didn't stop there. The shell's newly hardened surface aligned with Earth, a phenomenon known as tidal locking, usually taking millions of years of gravitational influence. Three ALMAs achieved it in minutes. Then, at 5 UTC, the Deep Space Network detected a resonance, a low-frequency, rhythmic pulse emanating from inside the shell. The frequency matched that of quartz crystals used in timing devices. The object wasn't inert. It was a clock, ticking methodically, a powered device cycling up. The energy output of these pulses was staggering, equivalent to the total electrical output of the United States, concentrated into a beam less than 1 degree wide, sweeping across the inner solar system. The combination of diamond hard shell and internal heat grid made the object not just anomalous, but engineered. The petrification wasn't random, it was deliberate, creating armor and a heat sink to manage its internal engine. Diamond is the best-known thermal conductor. The comet had reconfigured itself into a protective shell to dissipate immense internal energy. And what happens when a device like that fully powers up? That question haunted everyone watching the data streams. The internal grid, the stabilization, the energy storage, it all pointed to a single conclusion. Three ALMAs was activating a propulsion or energy system. A diamond-hard object with a terawatt-scale internal power source capable of moving at cometary speeds is no longer a comet. It's a kinetic projectile or a long-dormant probe, emerging from hibernation, armored, powered, and ready to move. By 5:42 UTC, JWST's mid-infrared instrument detected a geometric thermal pattern beneath the surface, concentrated in 6 hotspots around the equator, with a central hub facing Earth. Nature does not create structured thermal grids. This was an internal power plant cycling online. 3 minutes later, the Deep Space Network recorded a carrier wave at 1.42 GHz, the hydrogen line, a universal cosmic frequency. The signal pulsed in sync with the thermal grid. Heat, pulse, pulse. The object was breathing, alive with energy, and aligning itself deliberately. At this moment, the anomaly shifted from a scientific curiosity to a potentially existential threat. The petrification was armor, the thermal grid was an engine, the silence and lack of outgassing had been stealth, and now the stealth was gone. The system was powering up, and what it might do next was unknown. By 6 UTC, the European Space Agency's Gaia spacecraft delivered a chilling update. 3 ALMA was no longer passively drifting through space. Its trajectory was shifting deliberately, intelligently, against the gravitational pull of the Sunday. In orbital mechanics, no natural force pushes an object away from a gravity source without expelling mass. Rockets work by ejecting gas. Solar sails catch photons. 3 ALMA had neither. Yet Doppler data from the Deep Space Network confirmed an unexplained acceleration of 3.22 kilometers per second in just 1 hour, about 7,000 miles per hour, and its vector was aligning precisely with Earth's orbital plane. It was adjusting its course to intercept us. Think about what that means. A diamond-hard, heat-generating, non-rotating object the size of a mountain is maneuvering with intent, calculating its approach. If the acceleration continues, the object won't pass harmlessly at 0.5 astronomical units, as earlier predictions suggested. It will enter the rogue limit, close enough to interact with our atmosphere, potentially visible in broad daylight. We are witnessing a physics experiment play out in real time, but this time, we are not the observers, we are the subjects. To recap the events with chilling clarity, at 4:15 UTC, a comet composed of ice and dust spontaneously hardened into a diamond-like crystalline structure, an impossibility under natural laws. At 4:20 UTC, its rotation stopped entirely, violating conservation of angular momentum without ejecting mass. At 5:42 UTC, a geometric thermal grid pulsed beneath its surface, delivering energy equivalent to an entire nation. And now, by 6 UTC, Gaia's tracking data revealed deliberate acceleration. Each of these phenomena individually defies physics. Together, they form a pattern that is impossible to ignore. This raises urgent questions. What is powering 3 ALMA? How did it accumulate such an enormous internal energy reserve without producing heat or radiation detectable until now? And most importantly, what is its purpose? The evidence points away from chance. The petrification, the thermal grid, the rotational control, and now the trajectory adjustment all suggest an intelligent mechanism at work. This is not a natural object. It is engineered, and its behavior is consistent with a long-dormant device designed to survive the hazards of space and now coming online for a specific objective. Consider the implications for planetary defense. Traditional asteroid and comet mitigation strategies assume a passive object responding only to gravity and solar pressure. 3 ALMA is active. It can maneuver. It has a protective diamond shell, a thermal management system, and the ability to store and deploy immense energy. If it collides with Earth at even a fraction of its potential velocity, the kinetic energy released would surpass that of many megaton-scale weapons. This is no longer a scenario in a textbook, it is a real-time existential event unfolding before our eyes. Telescopes worldwide are scrambling to track the new trajectory. Observatories in Europe, North and South America, Asia, and Australia are all calibrating instruments to measure not just position, but surface temperature, spectral composition, and any subtle changes in orientation. Governments are being briefed in real time. Scientific teams are working around the clock to model potential outcomes. But the data stream is overwhelming, evolving faster than any team can fully comprehend. Every new data point seems to reinforce the same conclusion. This object is not a comet, not an asteroid, not a random rock. 3 ALMA is a powered, intelligent system, and it is moving with intent toward Earth. And yet, despite the danger, The most frightening realization is how little we truly understand. The object's behavior violates multiple natural laws: thermodynamics, momentum conservation, material science. It is armored, powered, and adaptive, operating as a coherent system. The petrification wasn't a malfunction, it was a protective transformation. The thermal grid isn't a random fluctuation, it is an engine cycling online. The course correction is deliberate, intelligent, and precise. We are not witnessing cosmic randomness, we are witnessing purpose in motion. As the hours tick by, the narrative becomes increasingly clear. 3 ATLAS was never meant to be a comet in the traditional sense. Its icy exterior was likely camouflage, a temporary shell designed to survive centuries of space travel and avoid detection. Now, stripped of its disguise and fully powered, it is revealing its true nature, a device capable of interacting with its environment on a massive scale. And the most unsettling aspect, its orientation, its internal energy, and its trajectory are all focused toward Earth. The situation is no longer theoretical, it is urgent. The behavior of 3 ATLAS challenges not just physics, but our understanding of intent in the cosmos. This isn't just an object moving, it's a system that calculates, adapts, and responds. The diamond hard shell, the internal thermal grid, the halted rotation, and the deliberate acceleration are all features consistent with an intelligent mechanism. Each element works in concert, forming a machine, a device designed for function and resilience. The question is no longer if it is engineered, it is why, and for what purpose. We know that the internal heat grid operates at terawatt-scale power levels. To put that in perspective, the output of this single object could power an entire nation for hours. The pulsing thermal hotspots, aligned with the equator and a central hub facing Earth, suggest a control system operating with precision and purpose. Nature does not produce thermal grids, and it certainly does not synchronize them with radio frequency pulses at the hydrogen line. These are the hallmarks of intelligent energy management, something that requires planning, design, and technological sophistication far beyond anything humanity has achieved. The pattern of energy release is equally concerning. The heat pulses coincide exactly with radio frequency pulses, creating a resonant system capable of sending information or signals across space. This is not random noise. It is a controlled output, a system actively communicating or regulating itself. And because the pulses are directed along the axis pointing toward Earth, it implies a degree of orientation awareness. 3 ATLAS knows where it is relative to our planet. This isn't mere coincidence, it is intentional alignment. If the object continues to accelerate at the current rate, it will intersect Earth's orbital path within weeks. That leaves the global scientific and defense communities with very little time to fully assess the nature of the object, let alone respond. Traditional asteroid mitigation methods, nuclear deflection, kinetic impactors, gravitational tractors assume passive objects, following predictable trajectories governed by Newtonian physics. None of those strategies are designed for a powered, maneuverable object with its own internal energy source and advanced armor. The potential scenarios are staggering. If 3 ATLAS is a probe, it may be surveying, transmitting, or even attempting contact. If it is a kinetic projectile, its impact could release energy on the scale of multiple megatons, enough to devastate cities, or even create regional climate disturbances. And if it is both a powered probe capable of defensive maneuvers, then our ability to predict or counter its actions diminishes dramatically. The line between science and survival becomes razor thin. As more data comes in, a disturbing pattern emerges. The European Space Agency's Gaia mission confirms continued acceleration along a vector precisely targeting Earth's equatorial plane. Simultaneously, ALMA and other observatories detect subtle changes in thermal emissions consistent with increased internal activity. This is not a one-time boot-up. It is an active ramp-up of energy. The thermal grid is intensifying, the pulses are strengthening, and the energy output is growing. The object is charging, preparing, and moving deliberately. Scientists are now forced to confront a paradigm shift. Everything we knew about comets, asteroids, and small celestial bodies is being rewritten in real time. A comet can no longer be assumed fragile or passive. Energy can be stored and redirected at unprecedented scales. Matter can transform in ways previously thought impossible. And most importantly, intelligence in the cosmos can manifest through objects that disguise themselves as natural phenomena, only revealing their true nature when fully prepared. This leads to one inescapable truth: the petrification, the rotational halt, the thermal grid, the acceleration. These are not isolated anomalies. They are components of a deliberate system designed for survival, resilience, and operation in an unpredictable environment. Every observation reinforces the same conclusion. 3 ALMA is not a comet. It is a complex, powered device with the capability to interact with the inner solar system, and it is focusing its activity toward Earth. The implications are profound. The object's energy output, maneuverability, and structural integrity make it effectively indestructible by conventional means. Any attempt to intervene must account for its capacity to absorb, redirect, or even weaponize energy. This is no longer an academic exercise. Humanity is witnessing the activation of a machine of unknown origin, capable of enormous destructive or communicative potential. As of the latest readings, 3 ALMA continues its acceleration, fine-tuning its trajectory toward Earth. The rate of change is no longer linear, it is adaptive, responding to gravitational forces and orbital dynamics in real time. Gaia's precise measurements show subtle course corrections that could only come from an internal guidance system. There is no natural explanation. No comet, no asteroid, no fragment of rock or ice can perform such maneuvers. This is an intelligent system, operating with purpose and precision, and it has chosen Earth as its focus. Scientists around the globe are racing to model the potential outcomes. The object's size, now estimated at several kilometers in diameter, combined with a diamond-hard shell and terawatt-scale energy output, makes it unlike anything humanity has ever encountered. If it were to collide with Earth, even at a glancing angle, the kinetic energy release would dwarf the largest nuclear detonations in human history. Entire regions could experience catastrophic damage, and the environmental consequences would ripple globally. This is not speculation. It is a mathematical certainty based on the physics we can measure, even if the underlying mechanisms defy our understanding. But while the potential for destruction is terrifying, there is another possibility. 3 ALMA may not be a weapon. Its behavior could indicate a probe, a messenger, or a reconnaissance device designed to monitor or interact rather than destroy. The thermal pulses, radio frequency signals, and controlled orientation all point to intentional communication or energy management, not random natural events. The problem is, we cannot yet discern the object's intentions. Every action we observe could be defensive, operational, or preparatory. The lack of outgassing, the solid shell, the precise alignment, these could be measures to protect its internal systems, ensuring it survives the inner solar system, or they could be prelude to an action we cannot yet predict. Governments and space agencies are coordinating in real time, sharing data and deploying observational assets across the globe. Satellites in Earth orbit, deep space observatories, and ground-based instruments are all tracking thermal emissions, rotation, reflectivity, and trajectory. The goal is not just observation, it is anticipation. Scientists are trying to calculate every possible outcome. What would happen if it passed at a distance, if it collided, if it altered its course entirely? Yet, the uncertainty remains overwhelming because this object does not follow the rules that govern ordinary celestial bodies. Every new piece of telemetry adds to the mystery. The diamond-like shell continues to act as a thermal radiator, managing its internal energy. The heat grid pulses in synchronization with the radio signal, sending a rhythmic pattern across space. The rotation remains halted, perfectly stabilized, and the trajectory is constantly adjusting. It is as if the object is alive, not in the biological sense, but as a machine operating with autonomy, fully aware of its environment and capable of responding to it. For humanity, this is a wake-up call. We are witnessing the arrival or activation of an entirely unknown form of technology, something that has been traveling, hibernating, and now awakening in the depths of our solar system. The implications for science, defense, and civilization itself are staggering. We are no longer merely observers of the cosmos. We are participants in an event that challenges our understanding of matter, energy, and intelligence. As the hours tick down, the critical question remains: what will ATLAS do next? Its trajectory is aligning, its energy systems are online, and its defensive measures are in place. The petrification, the thermal grid, the halted rotation, and the acceleration are all components of a single coordinated system, prepared for interaction possibly with our planet. The object is alive in every measurable sense, a self-contained machine whose purpose is still unknown. And now, as the final piece of this story falls into place, one thing is certain: humanity must watch, measure, and prepare. This is not a distant hypothetical. This is an unfolding reality. Whatever ATLAS is, it has awakened, it has armored itself, and it is coming. The era of assuming we are alone in the solar system is over. The era of confronting intelligent, active technology from beyond our experience has begun. Stay alert, stay informed, and make sure every observation is recorded. Because the next hours will define how we understand not just ATLAS, but our place in the universe and whether we can respond in time. If you found this analysis compelling, share it, subscribe for updates, and follow the unfolding story closely, because this is history in the making, and we are all witnesses to it.